With over 20 years of experience, the inconsistency of the visa bulletin is one of the biggest pain points for my many clients. To address this concern, I looked at government trends to predict what should happen with the upcoming October visa bulletin. It's important to note that based on the limited information available, there is no perfect formula for predicting the State Department's monthly bulletin, or how USCIS will respond with either the dates of filing chart or the final action date chart. Our aim here is to analyze the current climate and speculate how the government may react. As my predictions are intended for the new fiscal year, the government may be slow to react to current factors and choose to advance the visa bulletin in small increments over the next few months instead of one push forward in October. So let's get started. Here's what we know. First, October marks the start of a new fiscal year, meaning a new allotment of employment-based green cards, also known as visas, are available for the year. It's a use it or lose it. Second, each year, 140,000 employment-based visas get allotted, plus any unused family-based visas from the preceding fiscal year. In pre-COVID years, the annual total number of visas allotted has held steady at 140,000 visas. However, due to COVID and Trump's immigrant visa ban, we saw a spike in the number of unused family-based visas. This resulted in an unprecedented number of employment-based visas over the last 2 fiscal years. Approximately 262,000 in 2021 and 280,000 in 2022. By the end of the last fiscal year on September 30th, 2021, the government was unable to process all 262,000 employment-based visas, wasting over 60,000 visas. Remember, it's a use it or lose it every fiscal year. Now, this excessive waste was largely due to COVID and Trump-era restriction and requirements that elongated the application process, not only for applicants, but adjudicators as well. So the question is, will we see a repeated waste of employment-based visas at the end of this fiscal year on September 30th? Highly unlikely, and here is why. Over the past year, we have witnessed the Biden administration make great strides in avoiding repeated waste. For example, USCIS quickly acted on a long list of rational measures, including, but not limited to, initiating an ambitious hiring plan to fill 95% of the agency's vacancies by the end of 2022. They have also redistributed cases among field offices that had previously spent countless hours on an unprecedented mandate under the Trump administration to conduct in-person interviews for every single company-sponsored green card applications. And they also created a more transparent and efficient process for qualified applicants to transfer between the two categories, the EB2 and the EB3 categories. Now, despite the reforms, the data until recently was unclear whether the government would in fact avoid waste this year. A recent litigation affidavit, however, revealed that as of August 31st, the government has used over 260,000 of the 280,000 employment-based visas. With only 20,000 visas remaining, not only is the government processing employment-based visas at a much faster rate than last year, they are on track to use up all of this year's available employment-based visas by the end of this month. So now we have established that the government will avoid wasting any employment-based visas in the 2022 fiscal year. Let's now take a look at how the total number of employment-based visas might get allotted for the new 2023 fiscal year, which begins on October 1. Remember, every fiscal year, we start with 140,000 employment-based visas plus any unused family-based visas from the preceding year. Based on government data, we predict as many as 60,000 family-based visas will go unused, and therefore will be reallotted to the employment-based categories in the new fiscal year. What this means is that we're going to see an increase in the total number of available employment visas for the year to about roughly 200,000 visas. With the total number of available employment-based visas again exceeding the pre-COVID numbers by up to 60,000 visas, and based on monthly visa bulletin issuance over the last several years, here's what we might see over the first 2 to 3 months of the new fiscal year. First, USCIS will very likely kick off the new fiscal year with the visa bulletin's filing date chart. Second, the EB1 preference category across all countries, including India and China, should remain current. The EB2 and EB3 categories for all other countries of chargeability, excluding India and China, should remain current. As for the EB2 and EB3 India and China categories, EB2 China should advance by at least a couple of months, contrary to some current rumors. Meanwhile, for EB3 India, despite the unwavering retrogression over the last couple of years since the drastic October 2020 5-year advancement, EB3 India may finally start seeing some meaningful advancement and possibly return to the October 2020 priority date cutoff of January 1, 2015. However, for both EB2 and EB3 India, the extent of the advancement will be impacted by the number of EB2 upgrades or interfiling requests received and adjudicated over this past fiscal year and what remains to be adjudicated. These EB2 upgrades eliminate slots that would have otherwise been accounted for under the EB3 category. What this means is that EB3 will gain while EB2 will lose. For China, the EB2 category should advance by at least several months, and for EB3 China, despite the persistent 9-month retrogression since November 2021, EB3 China should likewise advance by at least several months. And depending on the number of EB2 upgrades that USCIS received, we could at some point in fiscal year 2023 see EB3 China again surpass EB2. Again, as a caveat, there is no perfect strategy for predicting the State Department's visa bulletin and how USCIS will respond each month. We simply analyze the available data, looked at historical and current trends, and examined government policy and process changes over the last few years. This allows us to make predictions on what the State Department and USCIS should do within the next few months, if not this October. But as we all know, there are no guarantees that the two government agencies will follow past trends or current factors. One important note, a litigation affidavit received on September 6 showed that USCIS expects the employment-based final action dates in October 2022 visa bulletin to advance for both EB2 and EB3 China, retrogress for EB2 India, and advance for EB3 India. USCIS applies the final action dates chart to I-485 applications that are already pending with the government. Now, for individuals who have yet to submit their I-485 application, USCIS will choose every month whether the submission for the I-485 application is based on either the anticipated dates of filing chart or the final action dates chart. Nearly every October, USCIS has historically chosen the dates of filing chart, and based on our analytics experience, as well as the government's own acknowledgement that the number of pending I-485 applications for the EB2 and EB3 categories far exceed the number of visas available, and this was all done by design by the government. As such, we anticipate USCIS will again choose the date of filing chart this October. Join me again in a few weeks when I break down the results of the October 2022 Visa Bulletin, which should be released on or about September 12th. We hope you have found this session informative, and I'll see you soon.